Hi there, I'm with Roger from Roger Falconer Water Consultancy. First of all, I'd like to say congratulations on your award.
Thank you very much.
Can you give us an overview of yourself in the business?
Yes, I've spent 40 years in universities, and mainly running large water research centres. And in the 80s, I was very fortunate because a lot of companies, 40-odd companies in the UK, were using my computer models for predicting flow, water quality and sediment transport processes in rivers and coastal waters. So I've had very strong links with industry ever since I started being an academic in 1977. And then I retired as a full-time member of staff at Cardiff University in 2018. I returned to Ilkley, where we lived for 10 years when I was at a university locally there. The children were young, so my wife wanted to return to Ilkley. So I went back to Ilkley, and now I carry on working in my business as a one-man, effectively running the company. And I work mainly on following up work that I've done over 40 years in academia. I oversee the modelling work of many projects that have been undertaken in the UK, particularly with regard to bathing water compliance. I'm working on a very large lagoon proposal in the Bristol Channel, and I work on very many projects overseas as well, particularly in China and the Far East. And I have strong links as well with the US, and I work extensively in also trying to persuade politicians in the UK to manage water better in this country.
Oh, fantastic. What would you say you're most proud of?
I'm most proud probably of the work I'm involved with and have been involved with recently. Well, going back, I'm most proud of the work we've done on a wide range of projects where very often the water company has had 100% of the blame for the pollution. And when you look at the river and so forth upstream, you very often find that the cattle in the stream are creating a large proportion of the bacteria. I'm not saying that the water companies are blameless, but they seem to end up with 100% of the blame. We found this in the Ribble, for example, and the challenges of water compliance for Blackpool Bathing Beach, which is still one of the most popular beaches in the UK. And this problem could be resolved quite easily. You simply fence off the river and keep the cattle out of the river. That's not to say it would solve the problem completely. The water companies still have a lot to do, but they're not 100% to blame for the problem, and the cattle is just one. So that's one project which I've been working on and looking at cleaning up the rivers now. But I think we need to adopt a system much more similar to the Far East. Our water management in this country is very fragmented. And we look at, for example, in my town where I live now, Ilkley, we have a 1 mile reach of the river, which is assumed to have to adopt bathing water compliance. But you go down the road from where I live, and there's Burley and Wharfdale, there are children swimming in the river there. You go down to Otley, there are children swimming in the river there, and so on. So we really need to look at the river as a system and not just take 1 mile out and clean it up. The fish coming from the sea up to breed, for example, go through the whole of the river, not just Ilkley. So that's one thing I'm trying to do, influence a lot of politicians and so forth, and to manage our water better and look at a holistic system as they do in the Far Eastern countries, for example. And the other thing in particular, which I'm most proud of probably, is the work we've done on looking at the stability of people and cars in floods. Very often, for example, we have a big flood in the UK, the car gets picked up from the river by the flood on the car park. It then gets moved into the river, as happened in Boscastle in 2004. The car then gets moved into a bridge, blocks the bridge, and the water level rises rapidly. No work has been done historically on the stability of cars in floods. And then people very often go into rivers, for example, for safety reasons or whatever, only to find that children in particular are not safe. So we've done a lot of work on emergency services and so emergency maps and pathways and so forth. So I'm trying to get, and these are widely used in the Far East, the work I've done with people in China, for example. So I'm trying to get this work adopted more in the UK because I think it'll help the emergency services. The emergency services under big floods are under huge pressure to get to the right places at the right time. So I believe that these maps could be very helpful to the emergency services.
Well, fantastic. What are you looking forward to in the future? What's next?
Well, I really want to carry on as I am. I want to try and get the work we've been doing more applied in the UK so that it benefits people, so that we close off roads when they're not safe for people to drive down them. And this is a huge distraction for the emergency services. Somebody takes a car down a road, they then get dragged into the river or whatever, and everybody has to drop everything to help that person. And that could have been avoided in the first place by just simply closing the road off, which would happen in many other countries. And also, if we're going to have a big flood in a city like Glasgow, for example, which is on a hill and where I've done a lot of work, then the emergency services need to know which are the priority roads where we need to clear children playing football in the street off the road, because it's much more vulnerable to anywhere else. And in the same way that at the moment they're trying to stop people swimming in reservoirs, for example. So I think there's a lot to be done, and I think the whole management system here at the moment, water management system, could be significantly improved, as we see in many other countries. So I have meetings with politicians in a couple of weeks' time, and I'm hoping to try to influence them more so that we can get better water management in the UK than we've had in the past.
Wow, well, amazing. Sounds like you're doing some really fantastic work. Congratulations again on the award. And I wish you all the best of luck moving forward.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.